The Galactic Assembly. The crystalline spires of Nexus Prime stretched toward the purple sky like frozen lightning. Ambassador Elena Vasquez gazed out the transport window as her shuttle approached the massive space station that served as headquarters for the Stellar Confederation. After 3 years of negotiations, today would determine humanity's place in the galaxy. The station itself was a marvel of alien engineering. 12 different species had contributed to its construction, creating a structure that defied conventional physics. Gravity fields shifted between sections, accommodating the various environmental needs of the Confederation's member races. Elena had spent months learning the protocols required to navigate this diplomatic maze. "Ambassador, we're receiving final approach clearance," announced Lieutenant David Park, her security chief. The young officer had been handpicked for this mission, representing the best of Earth's diplomatic corps. Elena straightened her navy blue dress uniform, checking the small translation device pinned to her collar. The weight of Earth's future rested on what happened in the next few hours. Behind her sat Dr. Sarah Kim, Earth's chief technology advisor, and Commander Alex Torres, representing Earth's military interests. "Remember," Elena said to her team, "we're here as equals, not supplicants. Humanity has earned its place at this table." The shuttle docked with Nexus Prime with barely a vibration. Elena had always been impressed by alien technology, but she refused to be intimidated by it. Humans had achieved faster-than-light travel independently, established colonies across 7 star systems, and developed defensive technologies that had caught the attention of the entire galaxy. As they disembarked, a tall, silver-skinned being approached them. Council Aide Mortek of the Elysian Republic had been their primary liaison throughout the negotiation process. His large, multifaceted eyes reflected the station's ambient lighting as he performed what Elena recognized as a formal greeting gesture. "Ambassador Vasquez," Mortek said through his translator, "the High Council awaits your arrival. Final deliberations are scheduled to begin in 1 standard hour." Elena nodded politely. "Thank you, Aide Mortek. My team is ready to proceed." They walked through corridors lined with representatives from dozens of alien species. Some Elena recognized from previous sessions. Others were new faces. The diversity was staggering. Tall, insectoid beings from the Hive Collective stood beside short, furry creatures from the Woodland Confederacy. Aquatic beings from Tittlemar moved through specialized mobility suits filled with their native waters. Yet for all this diversity, Elena had noticed something troubling during the past 3 years. Despite their differences, the established members of the Confederation seemed to share one common trait: a condescending attitude toward newer species, especially humanity. The Council's terms. The Grand Assembly Chamber was a circular amphitheater designed to accommodate hundreds of delegates. At its center sat the High Council's table, where representatives from the 12 founding species held court. Elena and her team took their designated seats in what was clearly meant to be a subordinate position. High Chancellor Cathfar of the Draconian Hegemony called the session to order. His species resembled Earth's ancient depictions of dragons, though smaller and more refined. His golden scales caught the chamber's light as he spoke. "We gather for the final consideration of humanity's application for Confederation membership," Cathfar announced, his voice carrying naturally through the chamber's acoustics. "After extensive deliberation, the High Council has prepared our final terms." Elena felt her jaw tighten. These weren't negotiations anymore. They were demands being presented as a fait accompli. Trade Minister Zilta of the Aquatic Collective activated her seat's holographic display. Her translation device rendered her water-based communication into standard galactic speech. Humanity has shown remarkable technological advancement in a short time. However, this rapid growth concerns many member species. The hologram showed a map of human space, with red indicators marking Earth's 7 colonies. These expansion rates exceed Confederation guidelines by 400%. For galactic stability, humanity must cease all colonial activities beyond your current holdings. Dr. Kim leaned forward in her seat, but Elena placed a restraining hand on her arm. "Let them finish," she thought. Defense Coordinator Thexnell of the militant caste continued the presentation. His species was known for their warrior culture, though they had been peaceful members of the Confederation for centuries. Human military technology, particularly your defensive systems, requires immediate evaluation and regulation. All weapons research must be conducted under Confederation oversight. Elena felt her team's tension growing, but she maintained her diplomatic composure. The worst was yet to come. Economic Administrator Velthur of the Merchant Guild brought up the final set of terms. Human technological innovations, especially in terraforming and faster-than-light communication, will be shared with all Confederation members. This ensures equal benefit for all species. The chamber fell silent as Elena processed what she'd just heard. Humanity was being asked to surrender its territorial expansion, submit its military to alien oversight, and hand over the technologies that had made them competitive in galactic politics. In exchange, they would receive the privilege of being junior members in an organization that clearly viewed them as a threat rather than a partner. These terms, Elena said, rising slowly from her seat, are not the partnership we were promised 3 years ago. High Chancellor Kethvar's golden eyes fixed on her. Ambassador Vasquez, these are standard integration protocols. Every species has made similar compromises for the greater good. Have they? Elena's voice carried clearly through the chamber. Did the draconian hegemony surrender their military independence when they joined? Did the Merchant Guild hand over their trade secrets? Or are these special conditions reserved for humanity? A murmur swept through the assembled delegates. Elena had just broken diplomatic protocol by challenging the High Council directly, but she was beyond caring about alien etiquette. Trade Minister Zilta's water suit bubbled as she spoke. Young species often struggle with integration. These measures ensure peaceful coexistence. Peaceful for whom? Dr. Kim interjected, finally unable to remain silent. These terms would cripple human development and leave us defenseless against future threats. Commander Torres stood beside Elena. My government instructed me to accept reasonable terms for mutual benefit. What I'm hearing are demands for surrender. Walking away, High Chancellor Kethvar raised his clawed hand for silence. The Confederation has spoken. These terms are non-negotiable. Humanity has 48 hours to formally accept membership under these conditions or withdraw your application permanently. Helena looked around the chamber at hundreds of alien faces. Some showed curiosity, others appeared concerned, but most displayed the same arrogant certainty she'd grown to recognize over the past 3 years. They expected humanity to buckle under pressure, to be grateful for whatever scraps they were offered. High Chancellor, Elena said, her voice steady and clear, humanity withdraws its application for Confederation membership, effective immediately. The silence that followed was absolute. In 300 years of Confederation history, no species had ever rejected membership. The very concept seemed to break something fundamental in the Chamber's understanding of galactic politics. Trade Minister Zilta was the first to recover. Ambassador, surely you cannot be serious. No species survives alone in the galaxy. The Confederation offers protection, trade opportunities, technological advancement. The Confederation offers submission, Elena interrupted. Humanity has survived and thrived on our own for thousands of years. We've reached the stars through our own efforts, developed our own technologies, and established our own colonies. We don't need permission to continue doing what we've always done. Dr. Kim activated her own data pad, projecting humanity's technological achievements for all to see. Our terraforming techniques are decades ahead of Confederation standards. Our quantum communication networks allow instantaneous contact across hundreds of light years. Our defensive technologies have proven effective against every threat we've encountered. These achievements, Elena continued, came through human ingenuity, determination, and the willingness to take risks that apparently terrify the established powers of this galaxy. We won't apologize for our success, and we won't handicap our future to make others comfortable. High Chancellor Kethvar's scales, darkened with what Elena had learned was a sign of anger among his species. You are making a grave mistake, Ambassador. The galaxy is dangerous for isolated species. The Confederation's protection has kept you safe for centuries, Elena agreed. But it's also kept you stagnant. When was the last time a Confederation member developed a breakthrough technology? When did any of your species last establish new colonies? You've traded growth for safety, and now you expect us to do the same. Commander Torres stepped forward. The United Earth government thanks the Confederation for its time, but respectfully declines membership under the proposed terms. Humanity will continue its development independently. Without waiting for dismissal, Elena and her team gathered their materials and headed for the chamber's exit. Behind them, the assembled delegates erupted into chaos. Voices rose in anger, confusion, and disbelief. Some called for Elena to reconsider. Others demanded sanctions against humanity. Elena paused at the chamber doors and turned back to address the assembly one final time. The Confederation is welcome to maintain peaceful relations with humanity as an independent species. Our colonies will continue to prosper, our technology will continue to advance, and our people will continue to reach for the stars. We invite any species that shares these values to join us as partners, not as masters or subjects. As the doors closed behind them, Elena heard High Chancellor Cathfar calling for an emergency session. The Confederation's comfortable order had been shattered by humanity's refusal to conform. Earth's response. The journey back to Earth took 2 weeks using humanity's latest faster-than-light engines. Elena spent most of the trip preparing her report for President Maria Chen and the Global Assembly. The weight of her decision pressed on her throughout the voyage, but she remained convinced that humanity had chosen the right path. Dr. Kim worked around the clock, analyzing the technological data they'd observed on Nexus Prime. Their systems are impressive, she admitted, but they're evolutionary, not revolutionary. They've been refining the same basic technologies for centuries without any major breakthroughs. Commander Torres reviewed intelligence reports from human colonies. Our border sensors detected increased surveillance from Confederation ships after we left Nexus Prime. They're watching us, probably trying to determine our next move. The blue-green sphere of Earth grew larger on their view screens as they approached the solar system. Elena felt a surge of pride, looking at humanity's birth world. From this single planet, her species had spread across multiple star systems in less than a century. They'd faced challenges that would have destroyed lesser civilizations and emerged stronger each time. Luna City's orbital platform guided their shuttle to the diplomatic landing bay. Elena had been here countless times, but today felt different. Today, she was returning as the ambassador who had rejected the galaxy's most powerful alliance. President Chen waited in the secure briefing room beneath the Global Assembly building. At 62, she had served as Earth's leader for 8 years, guiding humanity through first contact and the early years of galactic diplomacy. Her silver hair and steady gaze reflected the wisdom of someone who had seen civilization transform in a single lifetime. Ambassador Vasquez, President Chen said as Elena entered the room, "I've read your preliminary report. Tell me everything." Elena spent the next 3 hours detailing every aspect of the failed negotiations. She described the Confederation's terms, the condescending attitudes of the member species, and the impossible choice they'd been given. President Chen listened without interruption, occasionally taking notes on her secure tablet. "They expected us to be grateful," Elena concluded. "They couldn't comprehend that we might prefer independence to subjugation." President Chen was quiet for several moments, processing the implications. "The Global Assembly will need to vote on our next steps, but I suspect they'll support your decision. Humanity didn't reach the stars to become anyone's junior partner." Dr. Kim presented her technological analysis. "Madam President, the Confederation's stagnation is more severe than we initially realized. Their member species have been using the same basic technologies for hundreds of years. They've prioritized stability over innovation, while we've been pushing boundaries," President Chen observed. "Our terraforming success rate is 3 times higher than theirs. Our ships are faster and more efficient. Our defensive capabilities exceed anything they've demonstrated. Commander Torres added his military assessment. Their surveillance suggests they're more concerned about us than they let on during negotiations. They see humanity as a threat to their established order. President Chen stood and walked to the room's window, looking out at the underground transportation tunnels that connected Earth's major cities. Perhaps they're right to be concerned. We've never been content with the status quo. She turned back to face the team. Recommendations. Operation Starbound. Elena said without hesitation. We accelerate our expansion program, establish new colonies beyond Confederation space, and continue technological development without restrictions. We show the galaxy that humanity doesn't need their permission to thrive. Dr. Kim nodded eagerly. We have 17 potential colony sites identified beyond current Confederation territory. Our new terraforming techniques could establish viable settlements within months rather than years. And defense. President Chen asked Commander Torres. We strengthen our military without appearing aggressive. Focus on defensive technologies and deterrent capabilities. Let them know we can protect ourselves without threatening anyone else. President Chen smiled for the first time since Elena's return. Gentlemen, lady, I believe we're about to embark on humanity's greatest adventure. The Global Assembly convenes tomorrow to formally approve our independent path. As Elena left the briefing room, she felt a sense of liberation she hadn't experienced since the negotiations began 3 years earlier. Humanity was free to pursue its destiny without alien interference. The stars awaited, and nothing would hold them back. The next morning, the Global Assembly voted unanimously to support Elena's decision. Operation Starbound was officially approved, allocating unprecedented resources to rapid expansion and technological development. Within weeks, the first new colony ships were departing for distant star systems. Ambassador Elena Vasquez stood on Luna City's observation deck, watching the latest wave of colony ships disappear into faster-than-light travel. She had rejected the galaxy's offer of membership, and in doing so, had opened infinite possibilities for her species. Behind her, humanity was preparing to show the galaxy what true independence looked like. 6 months later, Captain James Morrison stood on the bridge of the exploration vessel New Horizon, watching the final phase of humanity's most ambitious terraforming project. Below them, the planet designated New Terra was transforming before his eyes. What had been a barren rock 6 months ago now showed patches of green across its largest continent. Atmospheric composition is holding steady, reported Chief Engineer Lisa Park, checking her instruments. The nanobiological converters are exceeding projected efficiency by 30%. Morrison nodded with satisfaction. New Terra would be humanity's 15th colony, established in record time using technologies the Confederation had claimed were impossible. The planet lay 300 light-years beyond Confederation space, in a region they had declared unsuitable for colonization. Any word from the other expedition fleets? Morrison asked Communications Officer Jake Chen. Fleet 7 reports successful deployment at the Kepler 442 system. Fleet 9 has identified 6 potentially habitable worlds in the Vega sector. All expeditions are proceeding ahead of schedule, Captain. Morrison allowed himself a moment of pride. In just 6 months since Ambassador Vasquez had walked away from Confederation membership, humanity had doubled its territorial holdings. New colonies were appearing faster than Earth's cartographers could update their star maps. The rejection that was supposed to isolate humanity had instead unleashed their greatest expansion period in history. Dr. Sarah Kim's voice crackled through the ship's communication system from her laboratory. Captain, I'm ready to present the quarterly innovation report. Morrison made his way to the main conference room, where Dr. Kim had assembled her research team. The walls displayed holographic charts showing humanity's technological progress since leaving the Confederation talks. The results speak for themselves. Dr. Kim began, highlighting various advances. Our quantum communication networks now span 50 star systems, providing instantaneous contact across distances the Confederation requires weeks to traverse. Our terraforming nanotechnology has reduced planetary conversion time from decades to months. Most importantly, our defensive grid technology has evolved beyond anything in Confederation space. Dr. Kim's assistant, Dr. Michael Torres, took over the presentation. We've also made breakthroughs in resource extraction. Our asteroid mining operations are yielding precious metals and rare elements at rates that would supply the Confederation's entire economy. Captain Morrison studied the data with growing amazement. How are we advancing so quickly? The captain's communication device chimed with an urgent message. Sir, this is Lieutenant Commander Sarah Foster aboard the patrol vessel Vigilant. We're detecting multiple Confederation survey ships along our border regions. They're maintaining distance but conducting intensive scans of our new colonies. Morrison activated the ship's main communication system. Commander Foster, have they attempted contact? Negative, sir. They appear to be conducting intelligence-gathering operations only. But their scan intensity suggests they're very interested in our technological capabilities. Dr. Kim exchanged a meaningful look with Morrison. They're trying to understand how we're expanding so rapidly. Our growth rate is probably causing alarm in Confederation space. Meanwhile, back on Earth, President Chen was reviewing reports from across human space. The numbers were staggering. 15 new colonies established, 7 new star systems claimed, agricultural output increased by 400%, rare element mining exceeding all projections, and technological innovations arriving weekly. Madam President, said her Chief of Staff, Daniel Martinez, we're receiving unofficial communication requests from several Confederation member species. They claim to be private trade inquiries, but intelligence suggests government involvement. President Chen raised an eyebrow. What kind of inquiries? Agricultural products, primarily. Also requests for our entertainment broadcasts and cultural exchanges. Several species are expressing interest in our terraforming technology, though they're requesting information through back channels. The President smiled knowingly. Are these the same species that supported the Confederation's demands 6 months ago? Most of them, yes. The aquatic collective has been particularly persistent. Trade Minister Zilta has sent 3 different private delegations requesting food imports. President Chen activated her secure communication system and connected with Ambassador Vasquez, who was currently aboard the diplomatic vessel Unity conducting trade negotiations with independent systems beyond Confederation space. Elena, how are our non-Confederation relationships developing? The President asked. Extremely well, Madam President, Vasquez replied from her ship's command center. We've established formal trade agreements with 12 independent systems. They're fascinated by our rapid expansion and technological capabilities. Several smaller species are requesting defensive partnerships. Any word from the Confederation itself? Nothing official, but we're detecting increased communication traffic between Confederation worlds. Our intelligence suggests they're experiencing economic disruptions following our withdrawal. The Confederation's crisis. On Nexus Prime, High Chancellor Kethvar called an emergency session of the Confederation High Council. The crystalline chamber that had witnessed humanity's dramatic rejection 6 months earlier now hosted a very different kind of meeting. The usual calm confidence of the member representatives had been replaced by visible anxiety. Trade Minister Zilta was the first to present her report. Her aquatic suit bubbled more rapidly than usual, a sign of stress among her species. The economic impact of humanity's withdrawal has exceeded our worst projections. Agricultural imports have declined by 60% across 7 member systems. Food shortages are being reported in the outer colonies. Economic Administrator Velthur of the Merchant Guild continued the grim assessment. Human entertainment broadcasts were generating significant cultural exchange revenue. Their absence has created a notable deficit in our cultural economy. More concerning, their rapid expansion is disrupting established trade routes. Defense Coordinator Thexnell presented the military situation. Human territorial expansion has accelerated beyond all historical precedent. They've established colonies in 15 systems we classified as unsuitable for habitation. Their technological capabilities appear to have advanced significantly since departing our space. High Chancellor Cathfar's golden scales had darkened to a deep bronze, indicating severe distress. How is this possible? No species has ever prospered outside Confederation protection. Counselor Plextar of the Scientific Coalition provided the most disturbing news. Our analysis of human activities suggests they've achieved breakthroughs in several critical technologies. Their terraforming success rate exceeds ours by a factor of 3. Their communication networks operate at speeds we consider theoretically impossible. Impossible, High Chancellor Cathfar declared. They're a young species. They lack the accumulated knowledge of millennia. Yet they've accomplished in 6 months what typically requires decades. Counselor Plextar replied quietly. We may have underestimated their capabilities. The chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. For centuries, the Confederation had maintained galactic stability through careful control of technological advancement and territorial expansion. New species were gradually integrated into existing systems, preventing disruptions to established orders. Humanity had shattered this model simply by refusing to participate. Trade Minister Zilta spoke up hesitantly. Perhaps we could reconsider our terms. The humans demonstrated capabilities that warrant adjusted arrangements. Defense Coordinator Thexnull objected immediately. Any concessions to humanity would encourage other species to reject our authority. The Confederation's unity depends on consistent application of integration protocols. What unity? Velthur asked pointedly. 3 member species have privately requested permission to establish independent trade with human colonies. The Outer Rim systems are questioning why they remain bound by Confederation restrictions when humans prosper without them. High Chancellor Cathfar raised his clawed hand for silence. The gesture that had commanded absolute respect for decades now seemed desperate. We will not allow the Confederation to fragment. Alternative solutions must be found. Counselor Morvek of the Intelligence Division, who had remained silent throughout the session, finally spoke. High Chancellor, our operatives report that human expansion is accelerating. They're establishing colonies faster than our survey ships can track them. More significantly, they're sharing their technologies with independent systems outside our influence. The revelation sent shockwaves through the Council chamber. Technology sharing with non-Confederation species violated every principle of galactic stability the Alliance had maintained for centuries. Which species? High Chancellor Cathfar demanded. At least 12 independent systems have received human agricultural technology. 7 have been provided with communication upgrades. 3 have received defensive assistance against pirate activities in the Outer Rim. Trade Minister Zilta's water suit began bubbling frantically. They're building their own alliance, the Confederation outside our Confederation. The irony was unmistakable. Humanity had rejected membership in the galactic community only to begin building their own version of it, one based on mutual benefit rather than hierarchical control. Desperate measures. 3 weeks after the emergency session, High Chancellor Cathfar authorized the most unprecedented diplomatic mission in Confederation history. Council Aide Mortek, who had served as humanity's original liaison, was dispatched on a secret mission to establish unofficial contact with human leadership. Mortek's ship, Diplomatic Unity, approached Earth's solar system under maximum stealth protocols. The Elysian diplomat had spent weeks preparing for a conversation he never imagined would be necessary. The Confederation was ready to negotiate with a species they had dismissed as presumptuous children 6 months earlier. President Chen received Mortek in the same underground briefing room where she had approved Operation Starbound. The alien diplomat's usually confident demeanor had been replaced by obvious nervousness. Madam President, Mortek began through his translation device. I come bearing unofficial greetings from the Confederation High Council. Unofficial? President Chen replied coolly. How interesting. 6 months ago, your High Council's terms were non-negotiable. Mortek's multifaceted eyes shifted uncomfortably. Circumstances have evolved. The Confederation has observed humanity's remarkable achievements since our last formal contact. You mean since Ambassador Vasquez walked out of your chamber after rejecting your demands for submission? The Council's previous terms may have been overly restrictive given humanity's demonstrated capabilities. President Chen leaned back in her chair, studying the nervous alien diplomat. Council Aide Mortek, are you here to offer new terms for Confederation membership? The High Council is prepared to discuss alternative arrangements that might be mutually beneficial. Ambassador Vasquez, who had been recalled from her diplomatic mission for this meeting, spoke up. What kind of alternatives? Mortek activated a holographic display showing revised membership terms. Humanity would retain full military independence. Territorial expansion would be limited only in regions disputed by existing members. Technology sharing would be voluntary rather than mandatory. Dr. Kim, present as Chief Technology Advisor, examined the new terms carefully. These are significant concessions from your original demands. The Confederation recognizes that humanity's unique perspective might benefit all member species, Mortek replied diplomatically. President Chen stood and walked to the briefing room's display wall, which currently showed a map of human space, 15 colony worlds, 7 star systems, and expanding trade networks with dozens of independent species created an impressive picture of rapid growth. Council Aide Mortek, President Chen said finally, 6 months ago, you offered us junior membership in exchange for surrendering our independence. Today, you're offering partnership terms because our absence is causing problems for your alliance. Mortek's silence confirmed the President's assessment. What happens when we become inconvenient again? When our continued growth threatens other Confederation interests? Do we face another set of non-negotiable terms? The Confederation values stability and cooperation, Mortek replied weakly. Ambassador Vasquez smiled slightly. Stability, yes, but what kind of cooperation? The Confederation's idea of cooperation seems to involve everyone cooperating with Confederation demands. Humanity's new position. President Chen returned to her seat, considering the alien diplomat's desperate offer. Council Aide Mortek, please convey the following message to High Chancellor Kethvar and the Confederation High Council. Mortek activated his recording device, preparing to transmit humanity's response across the galaxy. The United Earth government appreciates the Confederation's revised terms, but respectfully declines membership under any conditions that involve external oversight of human activities. Mortek's eyes widened in disbelief. Even these generous concessions were being rejected. President Chen continued. However, humanity remains open to establishing formal diplomatic relations with the Confederation as an equal, independent alliance. We're prepared to negotiate mutual defense agreements, trade partnerships, and technological exchanges on a case-by-case basis. You're proposing an alliance between equals? Mortek asked, his translation device struggling with the concept. Exactly. Not membership in your confederation, but partnership between sovereign powers. Ambassador Vasquez added, we've already established similar relationships with 12 independent systems. They're prospering under arrangements based on mutual benefit rather than hierarchical authority. Dr. Kim activated her datapad, displaying humanity's achievements during 6 months of independence. Our agricultural output could address the food shortages being experienced in Confederation space. Our communication technologies could revolutionize interstellar coordination. Our terraforming capabilities could open dozens of new worlds for colonization. But President Chen emphasized, these benefits come through partnership, not submission. The Confederation would need to recognize humanity as an equal member of the galactic community. Mortek was quiet for several moments, processing the implications. The High Council has never entered into alliance agreements with non-member species. Then perhaps it's time for the Confederation to evolve, President Chen replied. Humanity has shown that prosperity doesn't require conformity to ancient protocols. Innovation flourishes when species are free to pursue their own paths while cooperating where interests align. Commander Torres, present as military advisor, concluded the meeting. Council Aide Mortek, Humanity offers the Confederation the same choice you offered us 6 months ago. Adapt to new realities or remain isolated in declining relevance. As Mortek prepared to depart, President Chen offered one final observation. Your species have maintained galactic stability for centuries through rigid control. Humanity offers a different model: growth through freedom, prosperity through innovation, and strength through voluntary cooperation. The alien diplomat departed with humanity's counterproposal, leaving Earth's leadership to contemplate their transformed position in galactic politics. 3 months later, the Confederation formally recognized humanity as an independent galactic power and requested formal alliance negotiations. High Chancellor Kefar himself traveled to Earth to begin discussions that would reshape galactic politics for generations. Ambassador Elena Vasquez, who had walked away from Confederation membership rather than accept subjugation, found herself negotiating humanity's first treaty as an equal partner in galactic affairs. The species that had been dismissed as presumptuous newcomers had become the catalyst for the greatest political transformation in galactic history. Standing in the same briefing room, where she had reported her rejection of Confederation terms, Vasquez prepared for negotiations that would establish humanity not as junior members of someone else's alliance, but as founders of a new model for galactic cooperation.